The key turned too easily, like the lock wanted her back. The door swung inward and exhaled a gust of air that smelled faintly of wet plaster and something older, like a cellar that never dried. Emily stepped in, shoes squeaking from the rain, and paused at the threshold the way you pause at a stranger's name. The apartment should have felt familiar. It didn't. It felt rehearsed. She clicked on the foyer lamp. Light pooled across the hardwood, but the shadows didn't pull away. Instead, they leaned toward her, as if curious. The couch sat exactly where she'd left it months ago, its throw blanket folded too neatly. A water glass waited on the coffee table, clean, dry, and set at the angle she used when she wanted to look casual for guests. She had not left it like that. Her phone buzzed in her coat. Unknown number. A single text. "Welcome back. We missed you." She stared at the message until her reflection trembled in the black screen, eyes wide, rain-spiked hair framing her face like a warning. She swallowed and thumbed the door behind her shut. The latch clicked, and every hinge in the apartment answered, one after another, a chain of metallic throats clearing in different rooms. The thermostat read 54 degrees Fahrenheit. A thin stream of air whispered from the vent, but her breath still smoked, as if the apartment's lungs were colder than the air it exhaled. She rubbed her arms, moved into the living room, and caught the mirror over the mantel doing something a mirror shouldn't, lagging. Her gestures arrived a half-second late. When she raised her hand, the reflection didn't copy the angle. It raised a fraction higher, like it was reaching for something just above Emily's head. She backed away, and the reflection stood its ground. The lamplight flickered. Behind her, the kitchen tile made a soft tapping sound, like water forming and breaking on stone. Another text arrived, without vibration, as though the phone felt shy about it. "We put everything back where you liked it. Don't leave this time." She set the phone on the table, and it skidded an inch toward the shadows, which gathered like damp cloth around the base of the couch. Emily took a breath to say something sensible. There was no one here, there couldn't be, and a whisper answered from the empty hallway. "There is." The whisper wasn't hers, but the voice was. She edged toward the window to yank the curtains wide and prove the outside still existed. The rain-smeared glass offered the street, the sodium lamps, the diagonal rows of taillights until she blinked. The view buckled and resolved into another living room, her living room, from a different angle. On the far side of that room, a pale figure waited in the corner like a memory that never learned posture. Emily's fingertips met the pane. The glass was warm. The figure stepped forward in the other room and raised its hand, a milky palm pressed to the inside of the window opposite hers. The rippling skin of the pane thinned, like a soap bubble trying not to burst. She jerked back. The palm print remained on her side. Every bulb in the apartment went out at once, the pop and sigh of filaments surrendering in a star map overhead. Dark stacked itself into thicker dark. And in that dark, something drew close enough to fog the cartilage of her ear. "We arranged the room so you don't get lost," it said softly. "Not like before." Her phone's face lit the coffee table, 3 new messages layered like fresh dust. "We fixed the door. We widened the hall. We kept your old life in the pantry." The last line tugged her attention toward the kitchen. She had installed that pantry door herself. Cheap wood, chalk paint, iron pull. It stood ajar now, just enough for the darkness behind it to look intentional. Water dotted the tile, each drop placed evenly, like stepping stones you could choose to follow if you wanted to be complicit. The mirror over the mantel brightened, though the room stayed black. Inside it, faint golden light outlined the furniture as if the reflection belonged to a better apartment with a kinder electricity bill. Her reflection lifted its phone. The lock screen showed the time, 12:03 a.m., and a wallpaper she had never used. The pantry door, wide open, spiraling stairs dropping out of sight. The air got colder around her ankles, as if something had opened a hatch beneath the floor. Emily reached for the lamp chain out of habit. Her fingers found it, pulled, and the chain didn't stop. It kept coming, links pouring through her fist like a leash she couldn't finish retrieving. Somewhere below the apartment, a bulb obediently clicked on. The kitchen smelled like soil after a storm. Not mold, not rot, wet earth, as if someone had peeled off the city's concrete and let the ground breathe directly into this room. Emily's shoes left damp crescents as she approached the pantry. The door swung wider without touching her, taking its time, every inch a performed courtesy. Behind it, stairs spiraled down where there had never been stairs. The treads were narrow and glossy, like tongue depressors lacquered together. A weak bulb pulsed from below. She stood at the top and listened. Between the guttering hums of the light, something breathed. It was not fast or slow, not anxious or sleepy. It was steady, the pace you use when you plan to be alive for a very long time. Her phone buzzed again. Bring a knife, last time you forgot. She almost laughed because her hand already held one, the chef's knife she had grabbed when the first whisper landed. The steel showed her face dimly. A second face hovered behind hers in the reflection, out of focus, patient. Emily. Her voice came from below, the same tone she used to talk herself through nightmares after waking. You left a seat, it's still warm. She could have closed the door. Instead, she took the first step down. The air dragged against her like cloth, and the bulb's pulse synced with her chest until her heartbeat felt outsourced. At the fourth step, the knife's spine ticked against the rail. She gripped it harder, and a hand touched her wrist from the dark. Ice cold, thin fingers, no nails. The grip was not cruel, it was confident, the way a seatbelt decides for you. Stop, she said, but it wasn't a command. It was a plea she hadn't rehearsed. The hand squeezed once, as if to remind her of an old agreement, then pulled gently. In that motion she felt a memory unlock. Sleet on a January window, a kettle screaming, a sound like a dial turning somewhere no one admits exists. She wrenched backward and the hand let go instantly, polite as a valet. She stumbled up to the kitchen, slammed the pantry, and slid the deadbolt, a deadbolt she hadn't installed. The metal thunked into a socket that hadn't been there an hour ago. Her phone chimed. It's okay. We added locks for you. It'll come from upstairs instead. The ceiling complained, one creak, then another, slow, deliberate, directly above where she stood. She lifted her head and counted the footsteps. 1, pause. 2, pause. A hush, as if the thing was deciding which plank to test next. There was no second floor in this layout. Her lease came with a proud diagram that said 1 bedroom, 1 bath, snow loft. But the sound kept circling above her, not a person pacing, but a compass drawing a perfect ring. Don't, she told herself, already moving toward the hall. The apartment had swallowed distance. 4 steps became 10. She passed the bathroom twice. Pictures she didn't hang appeared on the walls, frames containing crisp photographs of empty rooms, each one waiting politely for a subject that never arrived. In the third photo, the subject had finally come. The pantry door, open a crack, the lens catching the eye-level hint of a smile in the dark beyond. The stairwell at the end of the hall didn't exist yesterday. It rose in a lazy turn, covered in the same lacquered wood as the downward spiral. Air flowed down from it like cold silk. Somewhere up there, near the top, a radio played the kind of music apartments inherit from other tenants. A croon from the century before your parents were afraid of anything. Emily tested the first riser. It held. She thought about neighbors, about how none of them were home when the paramedics came the last time. She thought about the lease office closing at 5, the stale coffee on the counter, the cardboard box labeled Welcome Bundle with its thick truth, you belong to properties, not places. Halfway up, her phone vibrated against her thigh. You don't need to bring the knife, we bought one for upstairs. The message accompanied itself with a photo taken from ahead. A long hallway smeared with that buttery bulb glow, every door closed except the last. Under that last door, shadow pooled outward like water sneaking from a seam. At the top, the hall stretched impossibly long. Doors lined both sides at careful intervals. Each brass number showed 09, not 1, not 2, just 09, as though all doors led back to the same failing elevator. The carpet was the kind that absorbs sound for a living. She walked and heard every step anyway. The final door was not numbered. It was mirrored. Not a pane, not a hanging glass. The door was a mirror, framed in the apartment's trim, reflecting her approach with the same millisecond lag she had seen downstairs. She stopped an arm's length away. Her reflection did not. It raised a knife like the one in her hand, but cleaner, newer, the kind a store displays beneath warm lighting to convince you it is a life choice. The reflection smiled. Not wicked, confident. "You left," it said. Her mouth didn't move. "We learned to keep the lights on without you." The knob turned from the other side. When the mirror door opened, it swung into a twin hallway whose walls were the exact color of her pulse. Her reflection stepped through carrying the knife, like a bouquet. Up close, Emily could see the misalignment, the hair parted wrong, the left eye slightly slower to blink, the faint scent of wet earth caught in the reflected sweater's fibers, as though the laundry had been done under soil instead of water. "Don't run," the other said and meant it. "You'll get lost again." The hall's other doors angled open one by one, not enough to show rooms, just enough to prove occupancy. A fingertip withdrawing, a shoe tapped once against a baseboard, a whisper that folded itself up and put itself away. Somewhere overhead, the building shifted like a sleeper turning over, and Emily had a sudden vertigo of time, whole weeks sliding on rails beneath her, rearranging into configurations they liked better. She lifted her knife, the other Emily lifted hers. They advanced in the kind of choreography bodies remember from the first time they learned to stand. When the blades touched, she expected cold ringing steel. Instead, they sank a fraction, tip to tip, into a membrane that yielded like old fruit and then held, knitting the two weapons into a weak bridge. "See," the other said. "Shared spine. Shared rooms. Shared hours. You don't have to choose a version. You can live in the one that never interrupts you." She leaned forward, and in the smear of polished metal and membrane, Emily saw a dozen apartments nested like matryoshkas, each a degree quieter, each with fewer clocks. Her phone chimed one last time. No number, no text, just the typing bubble, infinite and patient, like a door cracked forever. Down the hall, the pantry door waited in every frame on the wall, open wider now, a thread of light falling from it as steady as IV fluid. Emily thought of birthdays celebrated in courtyards that didn't collect her name, of coffee cooled by drafts from windows that refused to seal, of the January night she listened to a dial turn and told herself it was only the boiler learning a new language. She could say no. She could run and take the stairs and rip the deadbolt out of a door that once knew how to be glass. She lowered her knife first. The shadows along the baseboards straightened like churchgoers. The other Emily smiled, not victoriously but with relief, as if a job listing had finally been filled. The membrane between the blades released, and the two knives in two hands became a single balanced weight on a single palm. The lights in the building dimmed and settled. Somewhere far below, a bulb went out obediently. Upstairs, just beyond the mirrored door, the room finally arranged itself so she wouldn't get lost. When the hallway brightened again, there was only one Emily left, the one who knew where each shadow preferred to sit. She adjusted the knife on the mantel of a living room that matched exactly and texted no one, home.